Oh yeah.
I think
Sorry,
we're live
Coleman.
now. So, it feels like,
Wait till you have to interview him.
feels like a great time.
20th can't come fast enough.
Yeah, right? All right, well, massive thank you, Brennan, for joining us. Brennan is the founder, CEO of RocketLit, and you guys serve tailored reading to every child in the classroom, right?
That's true.
And I think as of before the school year, I think you guys were reaching about 300,000 students, which is really impressive. Tell us a little bit about what that growth was like, because I believe you're also a pretty new company.
We are. So I started RocketLit from my classroom. So that whole journey doesn't seem like it's not a new thing to me, but to some of those people, I guess it is. I started in my classroom because I had students that were at different reading levels in South LA that were struggling, and I had some students that were advanced and some students that were on grade level in the same classroom, and they all need to learn and read. After my second year of teaching, I realized we'd been watching Bill Nye. I was teaching science and doing cool experiments. I'd have kids like making plays about the process of photosynthesis, and it was awesome. They understood the concepts that they needed to in science, and absolutely bombed all of their standard tests. It was terrible. So I realized that their reading level was impacting their ability to succeed and perform in the way that they were being measured in that context, and would be measured, again, standardized tests are the way that we get into undergraduate school, graduate school, and they're gatekeepers to a lot of options. So I started writing articles for those kids at different levels, and I mean it was really only for 75 sixth grade students. It wasn't meant to go beyond that. But there's this weird moment that I had where I wrote an article, I think it was on evolution or something, and I handed it out to them, and I had a bunch of students that just struggled in reading, and they read the article and they looked up, and it's like this glow in their eyes, and there's sort of like a moment in my life where I was like,
clouds,
I have to do this. It was really like it was weird, but magical, because there really was this thing. So it started like that's the inception of what we do, I guess. And then I thought I would start it by myself for a while, so I started learning Dreamweaver. If anyone's an actual developer, you know that's not how you do anything.
What year was this? And
I talked to a developer friend of mine who he and I used to throw concerts at UCSB together, and that's fun. And we had a lot of good experiences working together in college, and I asked him to actually vet developing developer groups who would I could farm out the labor to, and I don't know. So I thought that's what I would do, have somebody just build a platform. And he was like, this is kind of awesome. And so he's a first generation college student, and he just loved it. And we started talking more about it, and it morphed into what we're doing now, I guess, more or less over a long period of time. So I was actually a teacher for 2 years while we were building the company. So just working full time, and then nights and weekends I would do this.
And where did the concert throwing happen?
UCSB.
Okay.
UCSB.
All right.
Yeah. Student government is one of those things. There's really cool opportunities if you know who to talk to, and so we just had this budget of there was an immense budget of $500,000, and we would throw events for the student body. You obviously don't know how expensive concerts are. If that really boggles your this is a long time ago.
It's way bigger now.
Yeah.
What were some of the concerts you threw?
We had Busta Rhymes and Damian Marley a long time ago, which was cool. Yeah, exactly. Is actually one of those
still
things.
Still on the grassy.
Yeah, say what?
Still on the grassy.
Yeah, he sang and everyone left, and it was really like a weird. It was early on. It was pretty early on. He's much better now.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of things, and a lot of low-profile concerts too. I mean. And it was really interesting. I did it for 4 years, so we threw hundreds of concerts.
Amazing.
It was really cool. Yeah.
So after school, did you go into Teach for America before that or after that?
So TFA is after college.
Yeah.
And so I taught for 7 years in South LA at public schools, LUSD, and then at KIPP and Green Dot and a virtual high school, which is interesting too.
Let's start with Teach for America.
Yeah.
Can you just give us the rundown for folks that aren't familiar with it, what it is, and what your experience was like?
Sure.
They're usually pretty shaping in who you become.
I regret call somebody now. No, I'm just kidding. No, so TFA is an organization that takes college leaders and places them in the neediest classrooms in the country. And there are organizations like this around the world, all over, because the positions at these schools, the school that I taught at, are impossible to fill. And I think a good example of this is in my 3rd year in the classroom. I taught math and science, and you have a partner teacher that teaches history and ELA. And I had 11 different people in that position throughout that school year. And this is not an exaggeration, like this is the absolute reality, because they would just be eaten alive one by one, and either run or walk or, calmly just tuck themselves under the desk until the school day was over and leave. Because it just becomes more and more difficult too as the school year goes on and those students become more disillusioned. So TFA places people that really care and want to make a difference and are usually leaders out of college into those positions. Yeah. Awesome. Very difficult to go. Girls that just rule your life, and you have you are just, it's very humbling.
Totally.
But we grew to love each other, obviously. And then I stayed. I didn't actually intend to stay a teacher. I took the LSAT and was going to go to law school. And like other people in this room who have made the transition from law back, I never dove. I just stood on the diving board and was like, nah. Stepped off and just went back to my classroom. And yeah.
So what was the turning point for you in terms of, I am going to be a lawyer, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to...
I feel like there's just something when you're doing something that feels right. It's not like there's a moment. I feel like when we were writing content and it was connecting with students, that was very inspiring. I had no idea that it's difficult to find in a lot of other places. You connect with students. Go and teach for 2 days a week. It's just being in that room with kids and imparting knowledge, helping them to get to where they need.
Are there any things that you've taken from teaching that you're bringing into your company?
Yeah, so I think delegation. Give clear directions and then allow the students or employees or whatever it is to to do their own thing, and then you have feedback cycles that you go through, and it's, I mean, it sounds very corporate that this is what we do. Your one-on-ones with your, your team members, the same thing as your one-on-ones with your students, and then understanding that your expectations beget results. And so if you have clear expectations and you hold people to your expectations, that you will have impeccable results. And if you it's all the same. I feel like highly analogous being in the classroom and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I feel like as an entrepreneur, you're just a lone wolf. And our team works virtually, so I'm not in an office with like my best friend, like Chummy Chum. But yeah, it's so we all work very independently, and it can be really. You have 30, people in that room that are, whether you like it or not, they are looking your nose if you like whatever. If you watch someone for long enough, I feel like you're gonna see some weird stuff. And it's something in education, we, like as running a business, you talk to customers, and every once in a while we'll get emails or we'll have phone call conversations that are just like, oh, last week I had one of the refueling conversations where somebody was just like, you're doing it, thank you, no one knows, but and and it was like, like it's that the sunlight that you need, and that's what I miss a lot. Yeah. It felt safe, and you could be vulnerable and they could be vulnerable, and if you're not around middle schoolers all the time, it's really crazy. And of 6th or 7th grade, at the end of 6th or 7th grade, that is a totally different human being than the one that walked in your classroom. And that's, obviously I'm very excited about it. So I miss that process and that connection and seeing the development so vividly. Just
yeah. So when you were a teacher, how many students do you reach in a year?
I've taught from 5th to 12th grade. So I think teaching, in 5th through 8th grade, you're 75 students, maybe counting your advisory class, 100, 120 students.
And you're reaching how many now again?
A lot more than that. And that was actually the conversation that I had with my students when I left. I was teaching 12th grade anatomy physiology, and I had been planning this for a while when I was going to exit the classroom, and we had enough traction where it made sense to step away and pursue what's now RocketLit full time. I explained to them, I can reach 150 of you here, but if I do this, I can reach 100,000, a million, who knows? And they were still mad at me.
So it's a losing battle?
No, yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah,
I hope they're users of RocketLit.
Well, those 12th graders are in college now, so
wow.
Yeah.
So soon they'll be working for you.
Hopefully, I would love that, and I would be honored. That would be fantastic.
That sounds like a job offer if they're tuning in.
You're definitely not, but if you were. I don't think I'm tagged in this in Facebook, and so you won't see it.
So maybe we'll do 2 final questions. One, we're going to circle back to the theme of parenting. You are a parent of 2 children that are twins.
They are twins. Each of them is a twin.
How old are they?
For the viewer.
How old are they?
They're 11 months old. They're almost 11 months old.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious. I am really curious how your life has changed in the last 11 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's I mean, anyone who has children knows that there's a shift that occurs, but I feel like whatever sleep deprivation you go through, we're still in our first year, and so that's fresh. Those scabs and wounds are like real fresh. But I don't know, the beauty. It goes back to being in the classroom and seeing that 6th grader or 7th grader, go from being like a child to like, I don't know, a young person like in that 1 year, and watching as a science teacher, I geek out on everything my kids are doing. It's so fascinating to listen to language development as it occurs.
Yeah.
They're just saying their first words now, and watching gross motor coordination turn into fine motor coordination over time is just awesome. It's just awesome. It's awesome. Curious to see what like a little you looks like. Parents. I mean, like this is like it's kind of awesome. It's like, oh, so that's what I look like. So yeah. I think it was so running a business and having newborn twins was an extraordinary challenge. I definitely was not able to put as much time into the business as I had before, working until, I don't know, whenever my eyes would decide to close. That's when I'm done.
So we'll keep an eye out for that.
But so now that they're 11 months and they can take care of themselves, you don't have to put all the food that they're going to eat into their mouths for them, which is a challenge. It's awesome, and I mean, I'm. Thank you for setting me up for that. Really, yeah.
I was gonna get you there eventually if you didn't make it on your own.
No, I got it. Once you have children that aren't infants, it's much easier to be able to, childcare is not as difficult. It's something that you can maybe even entrust to somebody else to take care of them because they're not so fragile. But now it's just awesome because at the end of the day, we had a conversation before whether you were like a 9-to-5 person or if you just work all the time, every hour possible. I love the fact that I can just work my butt off. And then when I get to see my kids, I just get to play with them. And then after that, I'll work my butt off when they go to sleep. But it's absolutely beautiful to have that at the end of the day. And it's exhausting, and sometimes it's absolutely terrible. But it
sounds a lot like actually the highs and lows of doing anything,
yes.
especially running a company.
Yeah. I think kids are cool. It's company though.
I'd say
honest.
so.
Yeah.
I think actually on that note, it's a great note to end on because we're a little over on time. But massive thanks, Brennan, for joining us at Project Literacy Lab.
Thank you.
And we are just stoked to see where RocketLit goes.
I'm stoked too.
Can't wait for an amazing next 10 days. So.